Hello, welcome, and thank you for watching this month's Tarot Talk. I'm intuitive reader Bryan Stafford from Stafford Tarot and Soul Intention, and today's Tarot Talk topic is going to be about intuition. Now, before we get into that Tarot Talk discussion, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's new at Stafford Tarot and Soul Intention, and give brief discussion about some of the upcoming events to look forward to, and then we'll get into that Tarot Talk discussion. And then I'll be offering 6 free short readings to anyone who joins me on this chat during this live broadcast. You can write interested in the chat and I will write you on the list, and when we get to that section of the Tarot Talk, I'll go through that order of the list. Now, if you're watching this from my website and you're just interested to watch the free sample readings, feel free to skip ahead about 20-30 minutes, as I will be offering those free readings later in the broadcast. So first, what's new? Well, first of all, Stafford Tarot does offer readings in person and online. I should make this clear just to differentiate the different services that are available with Stafford Tarot. A distant remote reading is basically a recording that is, you present a question or topic, the recording is sent to you for you to watch the reading in your own time. It's a little less interactive. You really just get to set the intention, set the subject or topic of the reading, and then listen to the reading. Excuse me. Beyond that, there's also remote readings that are not considered distant, but still remote. So this would be like a one-on-one discussion over Zoom, and readings can be given that way. It's much more interactive because it's like a two-way conversation. You get to ask questions during the reading. And then, of course, in-person readings, or in-person where you can meet me at my place of business, or I can meet you at your place of the reading, wherever you request it. I also do private events, corporate events, special events. I've done birthdays, weddings, bachelorette parties. All sorts of different options are available, and all that information is available on my website, www.staffordtarot.com. Check it out. If there's anything that interests you, you can always reach out to me if you have any questions as well. With Soul Intention, we are really looking forward to the summer. We have lots of different activities happening. Our workshops are slowing down a little bit over the summer just because people are less available. There's vacations and time off work and time with family that a lot of people focus on over the summer. So we will have less activities, but we will be ramping them back up in the fall in September and October. We have some amazing events happening coming up. Check the website at www.soulintention1111.ca. There's an events section that you can click on. It lists everything that we have planned so far between now and Christmas. So you can look ahead, you can book ahead, you can reserve your spot for some of the activities and workshops that are coming up. I'm really excited about the Kids Club. Once a month on a Saturday, we have a Kids Club where we do a kids activity where we teach different modalities and spiritualities. And the next one is going to be an intuitive art project. It's designed for parents and children to work together, building your intuition to create art. Very excited about that. Check out the website for that. That's going to be coming up, and many, many, many more. We have a witchcraft workshop coming up. We have an introduction to mediumship workshop coming up. There are sound baths. There are astrology workshops. Just the list goes on and on. If you're interested to learn more about different modalities, check out our website. And if you see something in the events list that you would like to sign up for, there's online registration, online prepayment, if you will, or you can pay when you arrive for the event. It's up to you, but it reserves your place so that if the event does fill up, if we do book it solid, you have your spot reserved. So online registration is always a really good idea to make sure that you reserve your spot. What else can I talk about? Some of the products that we have coming in. I mean, we're up to over 65 local artisans in the store. Really excited to feature so much creativity and talent from the local area, as well as our 16 local authors that we're now supporting in the store come in and see their books. We have the authors event coming up where every once in a while we invite an author to come into the store for book signings or launch releases and author events. So check out the website, lots of information, lots to look forward to. All of our artisans are listed there, as well as the authors, as well as the events and the service providers. It is a lot of information that you can really throw yourself down a rabbit hole. Enjoy. And as well, excuse me, if you're more looking for information about guidance on witchcraft or a practice, you can always check out askagraywitch.com, which is my other website that helps people set up unique personal practices for themselves. It really is set up like a blog where I answer submitted questions in a blog style format so that it helps other like-minded individuals. I suggest you check it out, askagraywitch.com, and on that website is the Sacred Meadow Circle information as well. The askagraywitch.com/coven will bring you to the Sacred Meadow Circle website or web pages, and it's just a whole lot of information about the tradition and the regulations, the membership. Everything's there for you to make an informed consent decision for yourself. So check that out. Any information that you need, you can always reach out to us. Each of those websites have a contact. They all go directly to me, and the Soul Intention store goes directly to Cindy and myself, my partner, my co-partner, business partner in crime. Yeah, check us out, and feel free to come into the store at 497 Woolwich Street. Just pull up a chair, have a tea, and let's chat. And you can always check out the many different things that we have available here. I really hope that that's helpful. Check out the website for all that information. There is so much happening that I'm not going to list them all on this Tarot Talk today. Because there's just so much. We are busy, with the local markets and the festivals and everything happening in the store. It is just non-stop excitement for us, and we are thrilled to create this community. We really have established a wonderful community of like-minded individuals who refer to each other. There is no competition amongst our service providers or our artisans. We pride ourselves in that. And we just want to create a peaceful, calming, serene environment for people to let go of your worries, drop your stress, and put your feet up and just enjoy the ambiance. So more information about that, soulintention1111.ca. So today we're talking about intuition. And the very first thing that I want to say about intuition is there's a lot of misconceptions about what it means to receive messages on an intuitive level. You may want to use an aid or something that will help you connect with your intuition. I tend to use my crystal ball. My crystal ball works really well at me connecting with my intuition. It is quartz crystal, so it is an amplifier for my intuition. As well as I use it as a focal point so that I remain objective in my readings, and I use it as an interface to connect with my sitters or my clients so that I'm not carrying those energies with me for the rest of the day or for the rest of the market, depending on what I'm doing, because at some events I actually give reading after reading after reading after reading for hours at a time. And at the end of the day, if I've been 15 readings later, I can't be carrying all those energies with me. I have to be able to let them go, and my crystal ball enables me to do that. It's just one way that I work with it, but I mainly use it to connect with my intuition, to make sure that I am connected to my intuition, that I understand these are my energies versus the energies of the other person, and differentiating that so that I can make that reading get the messages that need to be heard. Intuition is really important to pay attention to the very first impression that you're picking up. What is the message? As soon as you receive that message, don't try and figure it out with your logic. Your logic will hijack the message. What I mean by that is if you receive a message intuitively and you think to yourself, how does that make sense? How do I work this out? That's your logic trying to make better understanding of what you're picking up, and intuition doesn't always have to make sense right off the bat. Sometimes it is a process that has to be worked through, and go by first impression. As well as ego. Ego can hijack the message. You know, when you receive a message and then ego says, I think that's your imagination, you made that up yourself. Trust yourself, trust the message, trust that first impression. Always bring it back to the first impression when it comes to intuition. I really think that that is where the message lies, is in that first impression. A lot of times intuition can be subtle to the point where we may not even hear it, or it's a whisper, feels like a little nudge. And it's important to acknowledge that, to recognize that. Sometimes when we connect with that little nudge, it becomes a bigger push. So keeping that in mind, there are ways that you can build and enhance your intuition, obviously with practice. Any divination tool will help you connect with your intuition. The more that you listen to your intuition, the more you'll be able to connect to it. If you're ignoring your intuition or second guessing your intuition, it's not going to speak to you as clearly, and you're going to have trouble making sense of it. So being able to, like I said, those first impressions are really most important. And I would say that's the same thing when you're doing tarot. You know, when you pull out a card and it fits into a specific position and you know what the topic or question is regarding that card, and this is the answer, intuitively reading that card. What stands out in the card? Is it more towards the meaning of the creator, or is it more towards your intuitive, what you're picking up? Sometimes they go hand in hand, sometimes they don't, and you have to use your intuition to discern that. Excuse me. Once I start coughing, my throat gets dry. There are ways that you can test your intuition, and I don't mean that as like to see if it exists or not, or to check how powerful it is. What I mean by test your intuition is to understand how your intuition speaks to you, because the way that your intuition speaks to you may be very different from the way that my intuition speaks to me. If you think about all the different ways that psychic messages come through, you know, you can be clairvoyant, clairaudient, all the different clairs. There's more than 5. There's 5 main ones that everyone seems to focus on, but there's way more than that. Excuse me. Excuse me. So trusting your intuition to know how you're picking up the message. You know, is it a vision? Is it a knowing? Is it a sense? Is it a taste? Is it a sound? Is it a smell? What is it that's coming through for you intuitively? Trusting that. Getting to know how your intuition speaks to you can help you recognize if your intuition is even speaking to you. Recognizing your own energy and recognizing what intuition sounds like. One of the example exercises that I like to do with people, and I've explained this quite a bit, but I'll explain it here, is just rolling a dice, right? A 6-figure dice with 6 numbers on it. Roll the dice, see what number comes up. Then see if you can figure out the number before the dice finishes rolling. See if your intuition speaks to you when you're rolling the dice, and you think of the number, and maybe it's going to be a 3, and you roll it and you see if it's a 3. What you're testing for is how your intuition speaks to you. You're not really checking to see if you got the number right. What you're checking to see is, what did it feel like to guess the number and get it right? Or what did it feel like to guess the number and get it wrong? This will tell you different ways that your intuition is speaking to you as long as you're listening to it. And I'll give you an example. When I do this in person and I get people to roll the dice and they do it a couple times, and then I get them to do it for me and tell me what number they're going to roll, they usually will sound confident when they get it right. And they say, you know, say for example, they roll the dice and they say it's a 4, and they roll the dice and it's a 4, and they're like, yes, I got it right. And then they roll the dice again and they're like, 3, and they roll the dice and it's not a 3, and they're like, oh, I got that wrong. And I say to them each time, but did you get it wrong? because your intuition was speaking to you. Did you hear yourself question the number when you guessed it? You know, that rise in your voice at the end, like it was questioned. That was your intuition probably telling you that you were going to be wrong, right? Trusting your intuition, listening to the different ways in which it can speak to you is really important, because guaranteed, even when we're wrong, our intuition speaks to us. Sometimes it can come across like we're wrong, but we actually followed through with our intuition. And I can give a really basic example. Let's say your intuition is telling you that something is going to go wrong about this. There's something not right about this situation. And I have a fork in the road, and I can take a left turn or a right turn, and intuitively I feel like that right turn leads to danger. So I'm going to take the left turn. I'm going to go the long way to my destination because I feel this intuitive sense something's wrong about turning right. So I turn left. And I don't even realize what the danger was because I avoided it. Was my intuition right or not? I'll never know, because it spoke to me in the moment and I listened to it and I avoided the outcome to begin with. Now, where our intuition often speaks to us, where we get it or we understand when we hear it, is when we don't listen to it. So, for example, if I took that left-hand turn, even though it felt like it was dangerous, but I didn't really believe in my intuition, and I took that left turn anyways, I will eventually end up in a situation where I'd be like, why didn't I listen? So, you know, trusting your intuition, allowing it to speak to you, it often will speak to us when we don't even realize it. Sometimes we don't even realize we followed through with that intuition because it was an inkling feeling that I just went with. That's what intuition is. So, you know, recognizing when your intuition is speaking to you is incredibly important if you want to understand your intuition, follow through with the messages, or even pick up messages. Sometimes intuitive messages don't always make sense to us until we put them into the right context. I do hope that this is helpful. Let me know if there are any questions. If anyone's on the call and you have any questions about intuition or that testing intuition, let me know. As well as if you're interested to receive a free distant remote reading while we're on this call, let me know. I can add you to the list. I will be offering up to 6 short readings. I do cap it at 6 readings because each reading takes about 15 minutes to do. And so 6 readings is an hour and a half worth of readings. And then the beginning of this tarot talk discussion takes about 10 or 15 minutes. So we end up, you know, keeping it below 2 hours, I think, is reasonable. So I do cap those free readings. So yeah, if there's any questions whatsoever, feel free to throw them into the chat. Otherwise, I can get started on those free readings. Maybe to get started, I'll just do a sample reading for myself, see where I'm sitting at in the moment, and I can explain how that reading comes out. And while I'm doing that, if anyone's interested, just let me know, write interested in the chat, send me that message. Now, I should mention as well that with the technology that we're using to broadcast this out, sometimes there are delays. If people write into the chat and then I don't see the message right away, it can sometimes take 20 or 30 seconds for the message to come up. So just be patient. If you wrote something in the chat and I'm not responding yet, I will try to get to it. I do watch the chat fairly closely, make sure that I'm not missing anything. Oh, thank you, Maggie, for that question. It's possible that you can feel your intuition on multiple different ways. I.e. message or feeling in your solar plexus. Absolutely. Our solar plexus is kind of around this area. It's considered our gut, you know, below our heart, above our sacral, kind of that gut feeling. And I like to describe the solar plexus like when you feel nervous or anxious, butterflies in your stomach, that sort of area of energy. And definitely when you know, our solar plexus can speak to us just as much as our heart can, just as much as your, you know, throat, your logic and your crown, your root, from where you come from in your past. All sorts of different ways that your intuition can speak to you. I would argue to say that your intuition can speak to you through any energy center, but the main ones that intuition tends to be connected to is solar plexus, heart, and third eye. But to each his own. You know, if you have a knowing type of intuition, your intuition might speak to you through your crown. So, to each his own. I think it's different for everybody depending on how you pick up messages, as well as what messages need to come across in that time. I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Jane. I'd be happy to give you a reading. You're first on the list. And Maggie, thank you. I'll give you a reading as well as soon as I'm done with Jane. And anyone else who may be interested or watching the call, just let me know. Thank you for that comment, Jane, there. The anxious feeling is awful if you have no idea. Absolutely. I think anxiety can help us with that sometimes, in terms of like when we get that anxious feeling. Intuition can help us sort out that anxiety. Is it worth feeling like this? Is it going to be as bad as what it feels? Sometimes it's intuition that can bring us anxiety if we're feeling like there's a situation that I'm going to be confronted with, but I don't know what it is yet. Not allowing yourself to get tangled in that, I would say would be good advice for anyone who's sorting out intuition. Sometimes you have to take intuition with a grain of salt. Sometimes you have to take intuition as, the message that need to be heard in the moment. And it's not meant for every moment. So a message that you might have picked up in the morning could be very not meaningful by the end of the day. It's usually in the moment. Otherwise, you're talking about premonition when you start to get into like something now for the future or something that you see coming. And that's a bit different from intuition, even though you use your intuition to premonize. I'm sticking to the topic of intuition itself, just connecting with intuition. I would say trust your instincts, follow that intuitive sense. Knowing yourself well will help you connect with that intuitive sense. So if you do shadow work, doing journaling exercises are always recommended in order to recognize your own energy. So I do hope that's helpful. Let me know if there are any questions at all or more questions about that. Thank you so much for that feedback. So Jane, if you're ready for to receive your reading, just let me know. Maybe I'll just do a quick, short reading for myself just to give a sample of one way to use your intuition in a reading. I think what I'm going to do is use my intuition to read about my day today, and I can show you that spread, and then I'll get into the free readings. So Jane, if you have a question or topic that you'd like shared or focused on in the reading, just let me know. Otherwise, it can be left general. Quite often when readings are left general, the message that needs to be heard is what comes up, but it's up to you if you want to refine what you're looking for. So what I did was a day spread. It doesn't show up very well on the camera. It's like a 3-card pull at the bottom, 2 cards, and then 1 card at the top. The 3 cards on the bottom are the influences of past, present, future, today. The 2 cards above that are what works for me and against me today, and then the top card is advice to go towards the day. To my past, leading up to now, there was this decision that wasn't made. I didn't take the action that I needed to, and that led to me carrying all this extra weight of other people's high thoughts and intellectual processes. So I'm carrying all these other things from other people, and this leads to getting over the loss that I'm experiencing based on this. Probably based on what's heavy on my mind, given that this card leads to that future. But working through the loss, I seem to get over this. Now, what works for me and against me in this, what works for me is taking responsibility for myself, and what works against me is actually feeling like my actions are up against everyone else's actions, almost like I have to do it my own way. There's really no direction in this. I have to do this my own way. And that leads to the advice that there's going to be a disruption to this happy household, that there's going to be this assortment to be figured out. This is like the bliss card reversed, meaning disruption, to that bliss. This makes sense to me. Today was extremely difficult, working through all sorts of things. And yes, taking responsibility and not taking ownership of anything that isn't mine, absolutely. And I would see that being connected here. What I find interesting is that I have cups, swords, wands, cups, no pentacles. And so it's really about knowing what I need for myself, and working through the actions that I take, how I'm thinking about this, and the emotions that are involved, as well as one higher arcana, often about spiritual development and journey, and it's about responsibility. So taking the responsibility that I need for myself, definitely. Just a quick intuitive look on my day. Excuse me, oh my gosh, I'm going to cough throughout this whole live now. So the reason why I wanted to just quickly sample this is because this is what I used to do to learn my intuition, to how the cards were speaking to me. I used to do a spread like this, influence of past, present, future, what works for me and against me, and then advice to go towards the day, 6 cards. And I used to do it in the morning for what would happen in my day. I would leave it out throughout the day, come back to it in the evening, and look at how the cards described my day. And where they were right and where I was wrong, or maybe where I didn't listen to them. And then I would know or get a better relationship with the cards, understanding how they were speaking to me, so that the next time I did the reading for the day and those certain messages came up, I knew how to read them. I knew what it was trying to tell me because of my experience with the deck previously. And doing that for a period of time will build up your intuition as well as your reading skills with the tarot. So I'm just going to cleanse the decks and start over, and we're going to start with Jane. Thank you, Jane, for that. General is good. Absolutely, I'll give you a general reading. I'll start with that 1-card impression pull from this deck that I was using. It's the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and then I'll move to the Morgan Greer deck to get those messages for your general topic. So I'm just connecting with your energies, Jane, and charging the cards with that intention when I feel intuitively that I should stop, such as now. What I get for you, Jane, is the Ace of Swords. It did not come out reversed. This is often about coming up with a new mindset or a new idea, changing your mindset perhaps. But what's really standing out for me is, intuitively, is the clouds on the card. And clouds in tarot come across often as a realization, something kind of handed to you, coming out of nowhere, if you think about it coming out of the clouds. It's usually like a realization. And so this is a realization of a new idea or a mindset, or realizing, that you need to change the way that you're thinking. But either way, it's really about being in this position of a new way of thinking, new mindset, new idea. Does that make sense for you, Jane? Now I'm going to keep it general. And so I'm just going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we're just going to read those cards together to gain those messages, and then we can extend further into another deck depending on where we take the reading from there. Okay, Jane, 2 higher arcanas and a suit. Thank you for confirming that this card makes sense. Really interesting. I'm going to start at the suit and work my way towards those 2 higher arcanas. I feel like it's a really important message that you need to hear, and I'm going to work my way to it. Okay, Jane? This is the 7 of Swords. It did not come out reversed. It's often about carrying weight and realizing what you have to let go of. The 7 of Swords, when it comes out like this, it often represents making a decision about what's yours to carry and what's not, and what doesn't serve you, and letting go of what doesn't serve you and continuing to carry what does. So working through that, if you're familiar with cord cutting, this could be a representation of a cord cutting that's either needed or represented or was done in the sense of like, disconnecting from connections that no longer serve you well, and keeping the ones that do. I hope that makes sense. Oh, you're very welcome, Maggie. Thank you for that comment. You're just thanking me for sharing my approach and learning about my intuition and working with my cards. Absolutely. If you'd like to know more about that, you should check out my website because staffordtarot.com talks a lot about how to read the cards and get started. And there's even a section on there called Learn to Do It Yourself, where it points you to all the resources that are available on my website, including video lessons that are completely free. So check that out if that interests you. Thank you, Jane, for letting me know that that makes sense. Sure does. Now, the two higher arcanas are interesting, and I'm going to speak to them together because I feel like they're speaking together. This is the Devil card reversed, often talking about an adversary. I always like to clarify right away that when the Devil card appears, it's not about evil or darkness. It's really about an adversary that you're up against. When it's reversed, it means that you've defeated that adversary, that you can put this behind you, that you're no longer up against it. And then you have the Magician card, which is not upside down, it's right side up, which is often about utilizing all the tools at your disposal. What I love about this is this feels like a breakthrough, almost like an enlightenment. You defeated this adversary and now you can utilize all the tools at your disposal. I'm talking about the tools of the tarot. You can see on the Magician's table, he has the sword, the wand, the chalice, the pentacle. Those are the tools of the tarot, what you need for yourself, the thought process, the emotions, the actions you take, and passions. When you utilize that for yourself, you manifest your desires, and that's the whole point of the Magician card. It's about utilizing your own tools at your disposal, the tools of the tarot. And you can see here, when you release this, or it almost feels like a block that's been defeated or removed, and that's allowing you to open up. Now I am wondering how I can extend on this reading further. Given that this feels like a personal journey, I feel like it's some sort of internal process that you've really been working through, and then this deciding what you carry and what you don't carry. With this kind of message, I often wonder, Jane, if you carry other people's energy with you that isn't serving you, or doesn't, it's not really yours to carry, but you're carrying it. Maybe you're an empath, and you feel like it's some sort of responsibility for these other people, but know that you need to sort through what's yours and what's not yours, and don't overburden yourself by everyone else's weight. I'm going to look at my heart chakra deck. This deck gives great insight in terms of what someone needs for themselves. I use it quite often in my readings because of that. And so I'm going to look at what message you need to hear for yourself, Jane, moving forward. Now, what I find fascinating about this is we're seeing a repetitive pattern. 2 higher arcanas and a suit, and for the next draw we have 2 higher arcanas and a suit. So this is kind of an indication, Jane, that that the cards are trying to hammer home something here, something that maybe you're not listening to, or something that maybe just needs to get through. Again, I'm going to start at that practical message and work my way towards those more important messages. The practical message is that you are not at the beginning of your healing journey. You've done a lot of the healing. So you need to acknowledge that for yourself. You need to take some credit and give yourself some acknowledgement for some of the healing that you've already done. When the card looks like this, you're at the beginning of this healing journey, and you can pull back the curtains and realize the path. When it's this way, you've done that. You've been there. You've been walking this path. Know that you're still on the healing journey, but you're not at the beginning. You've done the healing. And so acknowledge some of the healing that's been done, okay? I think you've done more work than you realize. You could probably give yourself more credit than you do. Now, the crown chakra and the third eye chakra are the 2 higher arcanas. And what I find interesting about this is I asked the heart chakra deck for advice moving forward, and it's pointing us to 2 different energy centers. The crown chakra is often about how much intellect and thought we give things. If you think about balancing your crown chakra, if you give things too much thought, it's going to work against you. And if you don't give things enough thought, you're going to throw yourselves into situations that are not helpful. And so balancing that crown chakra so it's not too much thought, not enough thought, what's the perfect sweet spot in the center, this shows you're creating that balance. If you weren't, it would have came out like this, okay? So just know, because it came out straight up and it is the crown chakra card, it is really saying that you are balancing this crown chakra. I think you're thinking about this the right way. Same as the third eye chakra. When we envision things that's too much unrealistic, we can't reach unobtainable goals. And when we don't envision things, you can't reach a dream that wasn't initialized. And so finding the perfect sweet spot, right? What's not too much, not too little. Listen to that intuition, and I see that you're doing that. Otherwise, like I said, it would be this way. So creating this balance in your third eye chakra and your crown chakra together, I think, is a really important message that you need to hear today, Jane, because it's really about understanding your intuition. It's about seeing the realism, right? When you put these two together, and I really feel like this is a good thing. I think there's an awareness, an awakening for you, perhaps. Perhaps it's a realization, but just know that you've been on this path of healing, that you're not just starting this off, you're not at the beginning of this journey. Acknowledge the healing that's already taken place. Now, when I look at this reading as a whole, with 4 higher arcana appearing on the table, 4 is about grounding and structure, 3 are upright, 1 reversed. There could be some disruption to the structure and grounding that you're trying to create for yourself, but it's obtainable. You just have to put in the work. As well as with swords and equivalent to chalices showing up, this is really about the thought process and how you're feeling about it. I think you have the right mindset and you know what you need for yourself. And that's why you don't have pentacles or wands appearing, because you're taking the right actions. Thank you for that feedback there. I'm really working on some past issues with Althera. Absolutely. That could be what is equivalented to this, defeated adversary. If you're the adversary or a part of you that had to be defeated, definitely. And no wonder you're sorting through what's yours and what's not yours and working that out. So that makes sense to me. I think when I bring this reading right back to where you are now in the moment, Jane, with this realization of a new thought pattern or a new process, a new way of thinking about it perhaps, or a mindset, I really think that you must be on the right track, or you must have figured this out. Like I said, this does feel like on the cusp of an awakening or an enlightenment of some kind. I do hope that this is helpful. Let me know if anything here didn't make sense, or if I can explain anything a little better. Thank you so much, Jane, for letting me do your reading for you. Maggie, I have you on the list next. If you would like to let me know your topic or question that you would like asked for your reading. Otherwise, it can be left general. And anyone else who might be interested to receive a reading tonight, you can just write interested in the chat, and I will add you to the list. You're very welcome, Jane. Thank you for that feedback and that you were so glad to hear this. I do hope this is helpful. I really think that you've been through something, maybe through a lot, given that there was this, defeated adversary taking the reins and working through that thought process. Give yourself the credit of that process, though, Jane. Make sure that you're giving yourself the credit that you deserve in getting yourself where you are now. I have a feeling you've done things that you can feel proud of. Thank you, Maggie. Absolutely, I will give you that general reading. I'm just going to decharge and put away the cards. Thank you so much for letting me do your reading for you, Jane. Hi, Jody. Absolutely, I can give you a reading. You'll be after Maggie. So in about 15 minutes. And anyone else who might be interested, just let me know. So I'm just reconnecting the deck, just clearing and cleansing the decks that I used, and then I will focus on Maggie. Thank you for explaining that, Jane. I'm sorry for your loss. Okay, Maggie, general reading. I'm going to start with that one card impression pull that just lets me know where you're sitting energetically in the moment, and then I'll move to my Morgan Greer deck where I'll focus on that general reading. For you, Maggie, I get the Two of Wands reversed. This is often about not being able to decide between two actions. A choice of actions, perhaps. But these are the type of actions that you have to know where they lead in order to decide. So one of the reasons you may not be able to decide is not quite seeing where that action's going to take you yet. Knowing where that action takes you is how you decide this. What's the outcome that you want? That's how you decide. And right now there seems to be this inability to decide, or sometimes there's a challenge that's stopping you, or missing information, or something that needs to be resolved first. When you resolve it, get the missing information, solve the challenge, this card flips around and you're now making the choice, and you have to foresee the outcome before you decide. So this can be a tricky card because it often represents knowing what you want before deciding. So having your decision materialize your desire. Does that make sense? Now I'm going to keep it general. I apologize. Before this Tarot Talk Live, I did a breath work exercise that was 50 minutes. So my throat's really dry from doing that. So Maggie, I'm connecting with your energies, charging the deck with the intention. Just a general reading. I'll pull 3 cards and we'll just look at how those cards speak to each other to get your message. 3 higher arcanas have appeared all at once. This is screaming at you something, Maggie. There's a really important message for you to hear, and it's like the theme of everything. Where to start? First of all, the Wheel of Fortune card is reversed. This is often about time is of the essence. There's no time to wait. You need to get on something. You need to get on to something or do something. Don't wait around. It might be about timing, and you need to do this a certain way or with the precise timing, but just know time may be running out. So do something, whatever it is that you need to do. It may be the time to do it. Be careful with Judgment. This is the Judgment card. It did not come out reversed. It's the next card in this draw, and it's often about accepting or receiving judgment from people. The people are standing out for me. I'm wondering if you're being hard on yourself as opposed to others being hard on you. Let me know if that makes sense to you, Maggie, but I think you might want to be careful not being so hard on yourself. If you feel like you're impatient, running out of time, and you're being hard on yourself, that can be a combination that can lead to some discouragement or not being confident. So just make sure that you're working that through, okay? I think you got this. Now, the next card is the Death card, and the Death card is not about mortality, so don't panic. It's really about a huge transition, and it uses lives as its depiction, or uses death as its depiction, because in order to pass away from this life, we must pass away and go to the next, right? Or in order to get to the next life, we have to pass away from this one, is a better way of saying it. And so it's really about the transition. You're going through some sort of transition to the point that you wouldn't recognize where you started compared to where you ended. That's the kind of transition this card usually leads to. What's really standing out for me in the card itself is the rose, not the character, not the skull, not the scythe, which are the usual symbolisms that stand out. It's the rose, and the rose almost appears like it's opening, like it's blooming. And I think for you, Maggie, it's about this transition leads to you blooming in your own right. Understanding your potential, seeing the good. There's something about this that is development process. I could understand that if you're being hard on yourself and there's this time is of the essence with this transition. I really think that you're in the process of this transition, and that explains the time frame. I do hope that this makes sense. Oh, thank you for that feedback right there, Maggie. Very accurate, and the rose stood out for me too. Always allow your intuition to speak with you, which is why I like to show the cards on video. I don't like to do phone readings because people can't see the imagery in the cards where I'm drawing the messages from, and quite often your intuition can speak to you just as loud as mine in a reading. So I always recommend or always encourage you to follow your own intuition. So if that rose is standing out for you, what does that mean for you personally? I pick up development and blossoming in your own right. Now I am wondering where I can extend on this reading further. Perhaps I can use my Witch's Wisdom deck to kind of see messages that are deep within that just need to come to the surface. Given that the cards seem to be mentioning more where you're at in the moment as opposed to where you're headed. And so this might give you some good insight. So this is my Witch's Wisdom deck. I'm just going to charge it with your intention. I'm asking it to just bring up the messages that you need to hear for yourself. So one high arcana and two suits. The pattern is not repeating, and so I really think that there are some practical messages you need to hear that need to come to the surface. First of all, the healing card reversed. This is often about recognizing the healing that you've been through, understanding your healing process and journey, and acknowledging that for yourself. Okay, you may not be giving yourself the acknowledgement that you need, which is going to lead to more healing. I really think that this is this makes me feel like it is you being hard on yourself, if that makes sense, Maggie. Almost like denying the healing or avoiding a healing process of some kind. Let me know how that makes sense to you, okay? The next card is the Six of Earth reversed. This card is often about not trying to foresee the future. You kind of have to take it for what it is or allow the path to materialize as it does. If it was this way, it would be like you need to foresee where this goes. You have to look into the future and understand and prepare and be ready. This is suggesting that if you do that, it may not be in your best interest. You kind of want to accept what it is and deal with the consequences of the situation so that you're not extending it or making it worse, or just deal with it. I really think you want to be careful not catastrophizing would be a better way of saying it. Now, the Moon card is on the table. The Moon card does not appear for someone who doesn't have that high intuitive sense. And so, Maggie, I really think that if you trust your intuition, follow your instincts, that's your best guide. I think if you follow your heart, that is going to lead you in the right direction. That's going to tell you how to answer these questions or how to solve that problem or how to make that choice. Follow your heart. Your heart is not going to guide you wrong, and your intuition will speak to you. I really think you need to trust your intuition because that card is not reversed, meaning that you have a sense of this intuition. And so creating that relationship with yourself so that you can understand your own energies and how your intuition is speaking to you may be important for you, and just acknowledging those messages. Now, when I look at this reading as a whole, you have 4 higher arcanas, all appearing on the table, 3 upright, 1 off, about disruption to grounding in some way. So trying to reach a foundation and just having like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but you still get somewhere. So just keep focusing on the progress, as well as Earth and well, the really, it's all about what you need for yourself. You understand the actions you're taking. You understand the thought process. You're thinking about this the right way. You even have worked through the emotions. This is all about what you need for yourself. So don't allow that judgment to interfere with what you need for yourself. I really think that this reading is saying, Maggie, that you have to put yourself first. It's not selfish to put yourself first in any way, because if you can create grounding and structure for yourself, acknowledge your own needs, you're going to be much more grounded and supportive to the other people around you. I hope that that makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions about this, Maggie, or if there's anything that didn't quite fit. But I really do think that the most important message out of this is to believe in yourself, trust yourself, and allow yourself to guide you on this journey. Thank you for that feedback. Yes, this makes sense. I need to try to listen to my intuition more. Yeah, I think that's what the cards are trying to tell you too. Trust your instincts, follow that intuitive sense. I think that's why the moon card has come up, is look at the here and the now. What is your intuition trying to tell you about this moment? Try not to look at it like, what is it trying to tell you about the future? What's it trying to tell you about it now? I think that's going to be a more important perspective for you. Also, when I bring this reading right back to where you are now with this indecision, perhaps, of the actions that you need to take, not knowing where they lead, again, with the moon card on the table, trust your instincts, follow that intuitive sense to make that choice. Now, the Wheel of Fortune reversed, since you've asked about it there in your question, is often about getting on it, starting something. Now is the time. So you don't want to wait, right? You don't want to, there isn't a long process of patience that's needed. It's often about, look at the here and the now, what's needed now. If it was this way, I would suggest there's a patience that's needed. There's a process. The fortune is in the future, and you have to take the steps to get there. When it's this way, it's like there could be an opportunity for you. The fortune's now. And I don't mean prosperity. I mean some sort of opportunity, some sort of advancement. There's something that could be taking place or happening now. So don't allow that to make you anxious. Look for the opportunities that are available. Yes, exactly. Focus on the now and take action. Thank you so much, Maggie, for letting me do your reading for you. If you don't have any other questions, I'll start to cleanse and clear the deck. And then Jody, if you're still on the call, and let me know if you have a specific topic or question you'd like me to focus on, or it can be left general. I'll start to cleanse and put away the cards. It'd be a good time to mention as well that all of these Tarot Talk live events are recorded and saved on my website, staffordtarot.com. If you want to check out some of the previous episodes, or look at some of the other discussion topics, or see more sample readings, feel free to go back. I believe this is my 56th episode. I do them monthly, and so I've been doing it for quite a few years now to reach 56 episodes. But each episode has a different topic, and if you watch the first, say, 10-20 minutes of each episode, you can get a lot of information about tarot and different topics that were discussed. Thank you for that, Jody. Just a general reading, absolutely. So Jody, I'm just connecting with your energies now, charging the deck with that impression. Thank you so much, Maggie. I'm glad that it was very much appreciated. You're welcome. So Jody, connecting with your energies, I'm going to start with a 1-card impression pull, and then we'll move into your general reading. Now, for the 1-card impression pull, I get the 5 of Pentacles. Now, it is reversed. This card is often about not allowing yourself to be taken advantage of in some way. You've taken your power back, or you've stopped yourself from being taken advantage of. This card can sometimes mean poverty, in which you've avoided. There's some sort of you know, advantage you've given yourself, given that it's reversed. I hope that that makes sense. If the card came out this way, it would be like being at someone's disadvantage, or, you know, receiving. Sometimes it can be looked at as bad luck, you know, if you're injured or you're being taken advantage of in some way, or impoverished. When the card's this way, it's like defeating that, avoiding it, getting through it. 5 in numerology I like to describe as a pivotal halfway point. It usually leads to transition. If you describe it like a journey from 0 to 10, when you get to 5, you have just as much effort and distance to go back to the drawing board as you do as continuing on to the goal. So it's really about deciding when you get to 5, what's in my best interest? Do I continue? Do I go back? And it's about deciding, making a pivot or a transition for yourself. And Pentacles are about what you need for yourself. So understanding what you need for yourself in this, do I go forward and back and make a decision? It's usually about being taken advantage of. And this is suggesting you've put an end to that or you've avoided it. Let me know if that makes sense. And I'll focus on your general reading. I'm just going to pull 3 cards from this deck, and we'll look at how those cards speak together to get those messages. Now, fascinating, we have 2 higher arcanas we've already seen tonight with a different card. 2 higher arcanas with a suit. The suit that came out is the 9 of Wands. This is often about your actions being different from other people's actions, and you've just kind of done something your own way, kind of like stepped out of the line, so to speak, in terms of how to do something. So this would often be like you fulfilling an action your own way, not the way that all these other people would do it. So you kind of have to hold your own. You have to not be influenced by the opinions of others and really hold to your own decisions. Let me know if that makes sense, Jody. The next 2 cards are really interesting because they are the Devil card and the Magician card, which we already talked about. Now, the Devil card is reversed, meaning that you've defeated this adversary for yourself. It's the eyes that are standing out for me this time, and that's often about seeing the adversary in someone else. So you may have been confronted by this other person and you defeated them in some way. You put them in their place, or you allowed them not to interfere or disrupt you. The Magician card is often about utilizing the tools at your disposal, as I talked about earlier. And so when we utilize our tools and we destroy this adversary, I really think that's what happened. You stuck to your guns, you utilized your tools, and you defeated this adversary. Thank you for that. That is correct. I just saw your message there, Jody. I think about the in-person or 1 card impression pull. Let me know if this makes sense. I'm wondering where I can take this reading by extending into another deck. I'm wondering if my heart chakra deck would be good for this, just given how interpersonal this is, and this seems to be like a victory of some kind. So I'd like to look at what you need for yourself. And so I'm going to pull 3 cards from my heart chakra deck, just asking it what you need for yourself, given all of this. So a higher arcana, 2 practical cards have come out, 2 suits. I'm going to start there. And what's really interesting is both suits are 9. Now 9 is about reaching the end goal. What's the vision? What's the journey? And so I really feel like it's trying to direct you towards your vision. What's your end goal? The first thing you need to realize is whether this dream or is this obtainable. And it's reversed, meaning that you're creating a realistic vision. It's called a dream because it's something you want for the future, but it's not a dream because it's fantastical and not realistic, if you understand what I'm saying. And so what you're envisioning is actually obtainable. There's something that you're scared of in this, the process perhaps. This could be one of those life lessons that you were sent here to learn. This is the Darkest Fears card. It is the 9 of emotion, or sorry, intellect. It's equivalent to a sword in tarot. This is equivalent to a pentacle. And when you know what you need for yourself, and then this facing your darkest fears. I really think that these darkest fears come from something in your past. I'm just getting this sense about the card. What's really standing out for me are the light rays coming from behind him. Excuse me. And I really think that that's significant. Intuitively, I feel like this is fears from your past. So where this conflict seems inevitable is fears from your past looking towards your future. And the next card is the Higher Arcana card, the more important message of this. And this is the Master card reversed, the master of your own heart, not allowing yourself to cage yourself up or hold yourself back. You want to be careful that you understand your heart, what your heart's trying to tell you, and follow that. Follow your heart, Jody. Make sure that what you need for yourself is what your heart is telling you, and go with that. When you do that, this card flips around and you are now the master of your heart. You understand your boundaries and guidelines, and you can protect your heart much more profoundly than when we know it. Just because it's reversed doesn't mean that you don't know your heart, but that you may not be listening to it. And so just trust your instincts, follow that intuitive sense, listen to what your heart tells you. I really think that it can speak to you well. Oh, thank you for that feedback there. Yes, a victory and a chapter that has finally ended. I can move on. Absolutely, I can see that with this defeated adversary, and then utilizing the tools at your disposal, doing this your own way. That makes sense to me. Now, when I look at this reading as a whole, you have wands, you have swords, pentacles, no cups. And I think, as I've pointed out, or as I've demonstrated, it's just as important to look at what doesn't show up as what does, because what does show up in the messages you needed to hear today about the actions you take, what you need for yourself, and how you're thinking about this, the mindset, not about the emotions. I think you understand your emotions really well, Jody. You've done the internal work. You understand how this affected you emotionally, and so allow your heart to guide you. I think you've worked through your emotions, and your emotions are what guide you well through this. What you need to focus on is how you're thinking about this, what you need for yourself, and the actions that you take from here. What I love about this is what you just said, you know, being able to finally put it to an end, and yet no longer being taken advantage of or disadvantaged in some way in your energy now. Thank you for that question. Is there a way to figure out what the fear may be from the past? Absolutely. I would suggest we look at my past experiences deck. Let me pull this up. I have it here. It's just somewhere. Where is it here? Here it is. So this is my past experiences deck. It is an oracle deck. It uses imagery to bring up emotional responses, and that's how the deck has influence. And so I'm just going to focus on that fear, darkest fear, which felt like came from the past. And I'm going to pull 3 cards, and we'll look at how those cards speak together. I'll just extend a little bit on this reading for you, Jody, since you asked the question. And I'm focusing on that darkest fear from your past. Now, this deck does speak about past from this life, but it could also resonate from a previous life as well. So keep that in mind as I go through the messages. How it makes sense to you is important. Okay? So really interesting cards. The first card that I want to talk about is this is the Celtic Cross. It's the 73rd card. Often 73 in numerology breaks down to a 1. It's about spiritual development and journey, understanding your path. It uses this depiction as knowing your faith. It doesn't have to be Celtic faith. It can be any kind of background or faith that you connect with, and that may be able to help you. If you can connect with your background, or if there's something from your heritage or your tradition or your culture, there could be something connected to that in your past experiences that is involving this darkest fear from your from the past. 21 in numerology breaks down to a 3, and that's about inner communication. And this card is about listening to our instincts, understanding our instincts well, and following through with that with self-communication. So listening to your instincts. I have a feeling that with these two cards being together, it's really connected to something, maybe social programming of some kind, or something that maybe is ingrained into you that you need to break or get over. Because the next card is the shamanic card of the deck. It's really about understanding yourself well. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. It's really about understanding yourself well, where you come from, what's going on for you internally, what's the process, and how do you work through that process. Everybody may go through the process differently. If you think about it in one term, like grieving, for example, everybody grieves differently. There's no one way that you're going to see that process. And that's the same as getting to know ourselves. You know, when we get to know ourselves, there's many different ways that we can do that. And this is suggesting that you're on a process of getting to know yourself, understanding your empowerment, seeing your true potential. What I love about this is this was connected to darkest fears, and I think the darkest fear is connected to something within you, almost like fear of making a mistake, not following your intuition, not listening to your guidance or your path, and not listening to yourself. So there's some sort of past experience in, I almost feel like it's like being held back. Does that make sense for you, Jody? Let me know if this makes sense to you and where it doesn't. I would suggest for you to ponder on this for a while, see where this resonates or fits for you in the next day or two. I feel like there's something connected to your past experience that may be holding you back or discouraging you when it's not necessary. Because these are all self-development. These are all internal cards, you know, instincts, background in culture, and who you are as an individual. That would tell me that the darkest fear could be more about maybe fear of failing, fear of not completing or not following through. And so I really think that if it's a need and it's something that based on what you need or desire for yourself, hold your guns, stick to your path, and follow through. I do hope that this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns, Jody. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who requested readings on this call, and thank you for watching. I really appreciate that. I always like seeing new faces and new people as well as returning people, so thank you. And feel free to join me next month. Oh, what date is that happening? Shoot, I don't have my calendar with me. Next month, I will be doing a tarot talk on nudity in tarot. Now, what I mean by that is not doing readings in the nude. What I mean by that is when imagery in the cards are nude. And it's really not about sexuality at all. It's more about vulnerability. And I'm going to talk about that next month, next time on the Tarot Talk. It's going to be on the 3rd. Oh, let me see here. not as organized as I would like to be today. It's going to be on Tuesday, the 18th is going to be the next Tarot Talk live event where we'll talk about nudity in tarot. And I'm really looking forward to that discussion because there is a lot of misconceptions around around the idea of that and why that is included in the cards. So we'll get into that Tarot Talk topic on Tuesday, August 18th. Thank you so much, everyone who joined me tonight. I really appreciate seeing everyone. And if you want to check out the website, staffordtarot.com has all the previous episodes, including this episode will be posted there before tomorrow. So if you want to watch your readings, your messages, just keep in mind that the messages come from the time of reading itself. So if you watch this recording in a week, know that the messages come from a week ago. I really believe that we all have our own free will, and we can change our future just based on the actions and the decisions that we make. So if something comes up in a reading that you don't like the sound of, you can prepare now for what's coming. You can take action, you can make changes, make a plan. There's lots that you can do in preparation for something that you don't like to hear in tarot or about the future. And I also believe that tarot can give you a lot of perspective on potential. And so keep that in mind, that nothing is finite, everything's fluid, and it's from this moment on that the messages, the perspective of this moment that the messages appear. You're very welcome, Jane. Thank you so much for the messages. And thank you, Judy. You're welcome as well. And Maggie. Thank you, everybody, for receiving your messages today. If there are any questions at all, feel free to reach out to me at any of those websites, staffordtarot.com, askagraywitch.com, or soulintention1111.ca. In the meantime, I will see you next month on Tuesday, August 18th, when we talk about nudity in tarot on the cards. And I look forward to seeing you then. Take good care. Bright blessings.